So I was the only one that didn't know English. And my teacher used to come to me and ask if I'm packed lunch or school dinners. And I didn't know what she was saying. She kept repeating to me, are you packed lunch or school dinners? And she used to get agitated and keep saying the same thing again and again. And I used to reply with yes, yes, yes.
Telling people that I'm Afghan Hindu, a lot of people would tell me I'm not Afghan because I'm Hindu. A lot of people tell me there's no such thing. So I think I've struggled with that a lot personally, like an identity crisis almost.
There's only one big label on us, and it's war and terrorism.
For some reasons, they tell me that you are an Afghan, you aren't meant to fly at all because people don't feel safe.
In general, other Asians tend to be quite aware of our culture and our food, whereas those who haven't been exposed to it are often like, what's Afghanistan, or where is Afghanistan? I've had that a few times.
People say that I'm from some Arab country or from Turkey or Pakistan, for example, but they never really think of Afghanistan.
At the moment, Afghanistan has become a hot topic where the moment you tell them you're an Afghan, they already have a perception on what's happening, and the first question is like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, people feel sorry for you when you're from Afghanistan, type of thing. It's not a good feeling, of course, for whoever it is. You don't want people to feel sorry for you from where you're from.
For those of us who have family left behind, I think it's kind of sparked feelings of guilt recently. Just speaking to family back home, realising that we could have also been in that very situation, but we've managed to escape it, whereas they're still stuck in there. That's quite difficult to deal with.
Especially now, girls are unable to go to school. Like my cousins who are still there, they're unable to go to a school and pursue their education and get to their goals. For example, us, we take it for granted here.
One thing that I'm tired of hearing is people's preconceived conceptions of why Afghans moved to the UK. A lot of people assume that we've come here to take their jobs or to take, to live in grand homes. I can't speak for everyone, but I don't live in a grand home. I haven't come here and taken anybody's jobs. In fact, I'm going to be a doctor in a few months, but the NHS is desperate for doctors right now.
If you speak to any Afghan, including myself, we all have a story to tell.
I was 1 year old when I came to the UK.
I was 8 when I arrived in the UK.
I was born in Mazar Sharif, and after 6 months, my family had to move to Iran.
When I came to the UK, I actually came here by myself. So the night before, my mum didn't tell me anything and only woke me up at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and said that she'd packed me a bag and I've got to get off and go, basically. When I arrived here, I had just a piece of paper in my pocket with my dad's phone number. My dad was already in the UK. He'd been here a few years before. I was 5 when I'd last seen my dad. So essentially it was like trying to get to know and live with a stranger all over again. So yeah, it was tough.
I grew up in Iran, went to school there until the age of 14, and that's when I decided to move from Iran as well, because I knew at that time that I was going to become a pilot. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the situation of Afghan people in Iran. I do have a lot of good memories from Iran, from the people there, but when it comes to building my future, it wasn't possible for me, unfortunately. I mean, the reason is very obvious. I'm an Afghan, and that's why.
TV or film industry or media representation of people from the Central Asian, Middle Eastern or Afghan region is always about war, the Taliban, for example, or just women being oppressed or seen as oppressed.
Yeah, they tend to have these ideas that we're all very strict and we're all very rigid and regimented. The very few instances when Afghans are in the Western media or Western films, it's often quite negative, I think. We're either portrayed as terrorists or...
Most of the films on Netflix right now or Amazon Prime and other platforms, whenever the moment it's a talk about Afghanistan.
Afghanistan is like shown to be this dusty land where people are all, unhappy and sad.
Afghanistan has a very beautiful side to it, and I think the media needs to show that as well, and maybe not just show us as victims of war, etc., because we had a life before war, and I think that needs to be shown more in the media as well.
So I'm also trying to showcase the beautiful side of Afghanistan through Ariana Magazine. And people, the younger generation, are trying to, and it's really hopeful that there is people who are trying to show the other side of Afghanistan, that we have such beautiful culture, people, and history.
I think representation is really important. When I was younger and I watched any kind of film, whether it was Bollywood or Hollywood or whatever, I rarely saw people like me of my faith and my background on the big screen. Part of me was very embarrassed to be Afghan at the time. It was like, because you don't see that, it's almost like we didn't deserve to be on that platform. And only now that I've grown up and I've seen and experienced life a little bit more, I realise it's all because of a lack of opportunity and lack of access. So I think for future younger me's, then those things need to be there.
I've always had that sense of being scared. So since I was 13 years old, that's when I decided to wear hijab. And to be an Afghan, to be a Muslim and a woman, as all those three combined, was quite a struggle, because Afghanistan firstly is seen as a very dangerous place, and then also the hijab and Islam is also correlated with that, or seen in the media's perspective. I've always felt quite inferior, like in terms of seeing other women, non-Afghans and non-hijabis, or not wearing the scarf, being in such different fields, from journalists to writers, actors, you name it. And I didn't see that representation of me, and I've always felt scared that I wouldn't be able to do whatever I want in the future because of how I look or where I'm from.
So basically, after I graduated, I wanted to tell my story to other people who are at my age, just to be able to inspire them in some way. I used a lot of videos of me flying and telling stories. So I guess that's where I experienced so much discrimination. Yeah, but not in real life though.
That is part of real life.
Yeah, that is part of the real life. They don't dare saying it on to your face, but in the comment section they have a big mouth.
I think I'd love to show the world how lovely the people of Afghanistan are, how hospitable we are to our guests, how great our culture is, our food,
the music, and just generally like the attire as well, like what people wear to weddings is very like happy and colourful, and I think it reflects the Afghan culture really well.
I mean, I miss it all the time, even though I've never been to Afghanistan before.
Home is really a difficult thing to unpick, because one part of me is from Afghanistan, one part of me is from the UK. And home is much more than just a house. It's much more than just a word. Home is where you're more, a place where you're comfortable at.
It's a bit of a struggle because my parents were immigrants, and me not having been to Afghanistan is a bit of a struggle for me as well, a personal struggle. But I do relate to it quite a bit. But home to me would be the UK currently.
Yes, I have grown up in the UK. Yes, I have been around in London all my life nearly. But my love for my country will always be there, and home will always be Afghanistan. And if a day comes and everything gets better, inshallah, I will definitely visit back Afghanistan and be with my people and support them as much as I can.